All right, so hello everybody. Welcome to the September 25th, 2020 edition of the Domain Social. For those who don't know what's going on these days, we have, here, where's the schedule? Oh, I didn't put the schedule. So anyhow, I will just verbalize it. We basically started off talking about everything and anything related to domains. People who had recent sales or people who had incoming offers that they want suggestions on. Different things going on in the industry, news. If anybody has any questions on how to do anything technical within any of the platforms, we can cover that. It's pretty much anything. After that, we'll go to a couple different segments of auctions. And after that, it's going to be unrecorded, so it's anything goes. It's what we kind of call the after party, and we usually stay on topic for a while, and then it kind of drifts off, and we'll stay on for a few hours. Today I have my little buddy Steamy, so he needs to go for a walk. We're going to do a hard stop today at 8 o'clock. I said that last week. We went till midnight Eastern, but today I'm going to try and keep it to real 8 o'clock. And on that note, I am going to, oh, here is the agenda. Put that there. Turn it over to everybody. Anybody have anything crazy or interesting happen to them related to domains this week? Not all at the same time.
Well, yesterday, I was really happy to see that the domain that I sold, Cognitive Automation, was put to good use. The Cognitive Automation Summit was held and the domain was launched. And it really is a wonderful feeling to see that something that you own, you created, you hand registered, is now being put to use. And so that's really a wonderful feeling. I just wanted to share that. So about 900 people attended, and I lent a helping hand on that as well. And I think it was really very good to see something that I had thought about just branching out. And that was a great feeling. So I just wanted to share that. So I hope you have that feeling as well when you sell something and then you see it put to good use, and then you can still be a part of that setup. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Congrats, Joseph.
Yeah, nice, man. Congratulations. Hell of a feeling.
Yeah, that's a great feeling.
Joseph.
Yeah, I think that's what we all want to see. But I don't think there's any doubt that at the 300K that they were not going to use the domain. I think a lot of us sell domains, even $5,000 plus, and sometimes, you know, it's somebody who bought it on a dream and never gets around to building it out. And thank goodness for those people, because they pay for a lot of our sales as domainers. I think probably more than half easily, but yeah, maybe half in terms of volume and not in terms of
See, that's an interesting side topic there, because does anyone else feel that there are a lot of great domains just sitting without going to use? They've paid massive money for as end users, but they're not doing anything with them. What's the point? They're not investing with them, surely. They just have an idea and they think they'll build it out, and they never will. I mean, I think I speak for a lot of us here in that well, not most, but I think a large number of domainers started off just buying domains. And, oh, I'll build that out one day. I'll build that out one day. And that's how I started. And then I go, oh yeah, I'll build it out the moment I can figure out how to make 30-hour days. And the days are never longer than 24 hours. No matter how hard I try to change that, it's just it just blows my mind to how much, if I can call it, lazy cash people are putting into, I'll build that out one day. I'm like, you paid 80 grand for that and you'll think about it? It's like mad.
I don't know how many of them are at 80 grand actually did that, but I know, you know, for individuals, usually that's why the sweet spot is the, you know, the credit card. You know, anything you price under 5 grand,
100%.
you get a lot of those sales.
Yeah.
And the moment you have to, there's a little bit more friction, then no, they're going to wake up in the morning and go, no, I'm not ever going to build that out, and they don't buy it. So,
plus, Adam, think of all the corner lot property that people buy just on the speculation that someday that they'll sell it for something.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, I mean, that's
what
really,
I mean is end users. And I get that we sit on them, but end users to sit and pay top dollar for some real sort of heavy names that you wouldn't necessarily get that money back for, certainly not in the liquid market to an investor. And they're thinking about maybe building a brand on that? Just, I don't know, it's just interesting topic.
Adam, as somebody who used to work in a casino, let me tell you, a lot of money is a very relative term.
Yeah, it's true.
$5,000
it's very
for a
true.
good chunk of people is.
Yeah, yeah, it's an interesting
I wish I
point.
was one of those people, but
Yeah, lazy cash doesn't exist in my pocket just now. No, that's a cash.
yeah, but I mean, if you have that next $1 million idea,
Yeah,
what's $5,000 to secure
Yeah.
your mark?
100%.
Well, I think that another reason, though, why domain names that we sell, we don't get to see that they have seen, if you will, the light of day, is because people sometimes buy these domain names for defensive purposes, you know, for strategic purposes. So, like, they buy the
Good
name
point.
so that their competitors don't get it, or they just forward it to their real sites. So, yeah, that happens as well, as you well
Yeah.
know.
That's a good point. Yeah, yeah.
Well, I think folks are reticent sometimes to put something up if they did buy it speculative, because there's a belief that the name being virgin ground, you know, is more valuable than having had it have something there. Like it's a fresh start, blank
Makes
canvas.
sense. Yeah.
I think people's attitudes are now starting to change. I think a lot of businesses now are looking at not just having one website, but chasing the customer and actually going for the domain names that have got the keywords in them now. I think a lot of folk have realised that digital agencies are not supplying the business that they should be getting, and the COVID has helped push that idea and concept that generic keyword domains are the way forward. And I think you'll see an upsurge in the next 6 months of a lot of businesses buying up portfolios and strategies long term to get that one visitor, that don't get those genuine clicks without spending a lot of money on Google AdWords.
So do you think we'll see, it's an interesting point, Tommy, do you think we'll see more exact matches, or the values of exact matches growing, the demand for them growing too, even though we touched on this in another social, even though perhaps they might not rank organically necessarily unless they're paid to do so?
Well, do you know, I think it's coming down to that folk are starting to understand what is the value of a click. And that's what we've got to remember, is if that domain name brings in 20 visitors or 100 visitors, it's the value of the click that brings in. And I think businesses are now starting to realise that what they've been told the last 10 years or 15 years, it's what to do with digital marketing, it's what to do with social media.
It's a sell.
Us domainers have kept everything silent and went, we don't want to tell you what we're doing. We want to buy these names for ourselves. And I think the problem is that folk are now starting to realise that if they buy a domain name, don't spend the money on Google AdWords, they've got a long-term build. Especially now with all the programs that you've now got with regards to drag and drop, you know, GoDaddy's done drag and drop and everything else. Folk are now starting to understand how all that works, and they're saving themselves a fortune. Do you know, I was told that this week that some in Glasgow, there's companies charging, you know, £800 to do somebody's social media accounts in order to get this free posts on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. That's what they're getting on a daily basis. And you're sitting there going, are you kidding me on? You know, so to me, a lot of folk are starting to understand, get the domain name. You know, the domain names that aren't valuable to domainers, a lot of domainers don't like 2-word and 3-word domains. But at a hyper-local level, people are starting to realise it's hyper-local domain. It's where the, you know, those ones that are selling for 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, those to me is where the market is, I think.
Super interesting, because I actually feel as well like social media has just exploded and gone nuts, and all these, you know, young guys and girls have built these agencies, and they sit there. Like, I lived in Bali for a little while, and all these guys are sat there on their laptops just running these people's businesses and social media accounts. Like, kudos to them, it's amazing. But what I'm noticing is the old school, if you will, if I can call it that, of domains is now starting to come back into the social media element, because although they're blasting on the radio or Instagram or what have you, it is still, where are you going to go and click? You know, where are they directing you? What are you going to remember? And I did a really interesting thing the other day, which might be interesting to only me, but I made a list of 100 domain names that I remembered from the top of my head. And I looked at the elements of why I remembered them, how many syllables, how long, what words, you know, what were they related to? And I found it super interesting what came up, you know. And when I looked at each one of those, I just saw each one of those was a highly valuable domain name as well. It wasn't just like a catchy thing or something like that, which, you know, that's obviously an element anyway. But yeah, I think there's something in that. I feel like the old school elements of what we do is now actually becoming the egotistical in some ways, and also the modern concepts. It's coming back, which is really exciting.
Totally agree. And I think it is, you know, that building and developing. I think, you know, that I put up General Fabricator, and I can't believe there's no links to it or anything else, and it's on the front page of Google, 2 slots for General Fabricator, generalfabricators.com, and it's half developed. And all right, it's not a massive search term, but you get one click or one order for a fabrication, and if I know a fabrication business that I'll do a deal with, that's the plan. If I get one fabrication order and it's a big order, that's you.
Absolutely.
That's what I'm looking at. It's not a pretty name, but it's an industrial trade name, and that's the sort of names that I like. A bit like Protective Goggles, or, you know, Automotive, Joseph's one, as well. It's one of these sort of names where it could end up being a good sale, you know.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, so while I've got 1 second, I just wanted to thank those of you who were involved with Wednesday's the domain panel. It was kind of fun.
Super valuable.
I'll be bringing that back. Probably not this week, maybe the week after. So I'll let you guys know more about that by the emails. I just wanted to really thank everybody who was involved in that. It was you know, a little side project I wanted to get going, and it was a lot of fun. What else did I want to say about
Could
this?
that be a weekly thing, Arif, or
Probably eventually, yeah. I'm just taking a week off just to catch. I want to catch up on all the old social videos, to just put them on YouTube. Last week I did pretty good. I went up 3 more episodes, and I've got 1 more raring to go and a couple more, but I'm going to put a priority on that one, obviously. Yeah, once I get caught up, then I'll be focusing on newer stuff. But yeah, so thanks to everyone with that. And yeah, let's get back to anybody sell anything this week?
I just wanted to give an update on the domain I was talking about last week, that consummated. They came through, and that turned out okay. So I found with Bodis, with Dan, my experience has been sometimes you'll get immediately paid, but sometimes it takes them a few days to collect the money and get going. But it's typically still a lot faster than going the path of escrow.com and others. I've not yet had it be like same day money. I've yet to hit that situation, other than like face to face at NamesCon, where, you know, somebody's actually like literally trading PayPals and stuff right there, sitting next to each other. We're getting better though. We're getting better though.
That was like a low 4-figure sale.
It was a mid 4 figures.
Yeah, nice. Ever closer to your island.
Yeah. I can feed the tribe. Yeah.
Good stuff. I might, it might be a little off topic, but I'll bring it up and you see what we do with it. So I was watching the expired auctions tonight, and I went into battle with a domain name, and the domain name was 420therapy.com. 420 obviously being the
saw that too.
connotation for, the acronym for cannabis, and therapy I just thought had really nice synergy. 420 as a print pending is really widely used. I didn't really realize how widely until I saw this auction going on. Does anyone know how much that ended up selling for? How much would you assume that would sell for an expired auction?
About $300 maybe?
It's very close. I'll put you all out of your misery. It's $350.
Wow, okay.
So
I because you didn't know.
I started watching it about 3 hours out, and it I think it was about an hour out, it was still at $12. And I'm like, this might have just snuck underneath the radar here. I might be onto something. Anyway, so I followed it. And within the last 14 minutes, it went straight to 275, which is where I tapped out. And then, yeah, it ends up at 350. Do people feel like that's its value in the marketplace? Was it cheap? Was it overpriced? What do you think?
$420 is a good term in Canada because we have depending with cannabis, it's mostly provincial jurisdictions, so it doesn't really apply too much. But as a brand, we have both languages, English and French, right? So mind you, cannabis is the same English and French. I don't know if marijuana is used in French or not. Joelle, are you there? Is Joelle still there? Oh, she's.
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Do people use marijuana in French, or they just use cannabis, or what do they use?
They use pot.
Pot? Oh yeah, yeah. But so that's the thing. So in here in Canada, because we have the two languages issue, like numbers make sense. You know, like in China, they use numbers because
interesting.
Because the keyboard for words it's a lot longer and it doesn't translate well into domain names.
So you think it's more likely it'll end up in Canada?
I think. Well, no, I just think that numbers sometimes they have an international appeal. Now it depends on the second word. I even forget what it was now. What was the second word?
Therapy.
Yeah, so that erases all that advantage. 420 would be that, yeah. But therapy, yeah, that would. But it's still a good domain. I mean, they're you know, medical marijuana is still big. You know, it's
like therapy makes sense,
is.
right? Like the two,
It does.
the synergy, it makes sense.
yeah, like
I just thought it was high.
Well, Adam, if it helps you out, we paid $2,700 for cannabis therapy last year. So,
wow.
I don't know that how comparable they are. I think the cannabis therapy is a much stronger name, you know, being alpha only. But you know, I don't know that was too high.
Yeah, look. In all honesty, when I went into the auction, I did a very, very brief amount of research, to be honest with you. But gut told me that it was actually about right. You know, and I don't own any cannabis names. I don't own any alphanumeric names either. But still, to me, I'm learning, obviously. It felt right. And I just wanted to get other people's feeling on that. Even though it was an alphanumeric, in that niche with the synergy, I actually felt like it placed about right.
Yeah, I think this what was it, 300, 350 is a good price, because from just hearing a lot about that space is that they're like the legit players aren't using slang words like 420 or weed or whatever. Right. So they're, especially when paired with therapy, it might, like, I don't know, it might take away from the legitimacy of whoever's providing the therapy. Like, would you rather go to a cannabis therapist or a 420 therapist? So I think 250, 300 or whatever is a good price for maybe, like, maybe a less serious site about that. But if someone's going to launch a brand, like a legit brand on it, I don't think the 420 would be good from a branding perspective. That just
there's therapy420.com is available for 1608.
1608.
Yeah.
I prefer the pre-pending, I think.
Yeah, but I mean, the person that has it can flip it around.
That's a good point, though, because whoever's selling 420 pre-pending would have to think about how they price it, with the other guy being priced at therapy 420 at 1608. You know, you're not immediately going to get $7 or $8 grand for that name if someone's got something in the flip reverse for 1608, right?
I think with 420, oftentimes I think one will make sense more than the other. Depending what it is. Like, I mean, I have, like, look, I have a bunch of 420 names I'm pull up now. Like, I have 420 exports. That order makes sense. But then I also have, as a brandable, I have like Tonic 420, which I think is a cool brand for like
that.
tracks or whatever it is.
Yeah, that's cool.
But then I also have like 420 medications, you know, and like medication 420 medications is it's a keyword domain, right? I mean, 420 you could argue is a keyword or not, but I mean, it's enough of a term for cannabis that I think that qualifies as a keyword. But if I had like medication 420, that would be a brandable. So there'd be less likelihood of.
Well, the other thing too, when I looked in name bio, there's a ton of sales, mostly to, wholesale.
Yeah.
But there's pre-pending 420 with all different app endings, and they're all 380, 400, 550. Very few less than 250. So yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, well, it's important to note that probably about, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago, when there was talk of legalization, anything marijuana or cannabis related became hot for domainers. It was like the next best thing, like 5G or 4G or 4D printing or drones
CBD
and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so it's one of those markets that, domains do sell, but on the wholesale side, it got excessively hot, maybe more than it should have. But still the best ones do sell. Like there is demand for it. That's why that wave was there. It's just that sometimes domainers, we can overreact and get sort of not just the best ones, but the, like the mountain effect, the peak is like all the stuff that kind of falls off that, we probably should have known better that nobody's ever going to use that. But
Yeah, no, it's just interesting. I'm pleased, grateful for your feedback. It seemed to stack up nice. Like everything seemed to make sense, but it's just nice to know that I'm thinking logically and rationally, and not just on the gut. It's
did
like
you put it through the DN Academy valuation thing?
No, I don't. My course ran out. I didn't renew it in the end.
Okay.
I just ran it and I sent you the link, Adam.
Oh, hey, Mike.
Well, Mike, what did it say?
I think it's good.
Yeah, nice. Okay, cool.
Is it okay if I send the link to everyone, Adam?
Yeah, absolutely. It's your link. Yeah, go ahead.
You didn't buy it. You want me to?
I don't know if the auction's over or not, but there's the
Yeah,
link.
it's over. It's finished.
You can see all the statistics. You can see the comps in there that I thought were recent, relevant, and retail. There's some other comps that are wholesale that I excluded. But yeah, I think at $200, $350, it's a great buy.
There's a pretty good comp pool to draw from. Like when I ran some numbers, some of them were a little random, but when you look at the synergy of therapy against other, there were quite a few to pull from which gave confidence. I bid it's 275 and then backed out.
Mike, do you mind if I share screen, or is that proprietary information?
Well, you can share it.
Go through that, see what.
Yeah, thanks for running it, Mike.
So the comps are 420. That's a good comp. 420 clinics, 420 clinic, $3.5 each.
Clinic as well.
420 dispensary.
Whoops! I just see that the words in the domain got. I need to go back and edit it. It parsed it incorrectly. So I need to go correct that. It might, I doubt it does, but it might change it, the search volume.
See, 420 dispensary. Now, you're the expert here, but do you not think that's quite long in comparison to therapy? Would that be...
Well, it's a comp, right? Like it's maybe 2 blocks down when you're selling your house. And like, if you were from that area, you'd be like, well, that's on the other side of the tracks. I know it's only 2 blocks away. It's close. Like, when you're talking about therapy, dispensary, clinics, they're all in sort of the same general area versus like one comp that I excluded was 420today.com, which is a nice broad brandable for, a marketing or news site or something
like a blog or
but yeah, I think, when you get in therapy, I think, Jason's buy was a great one. I think this one would have been a great one. Because I think that this is one of those industries that's evolving and growing. And so it's trending up.
Yeah, good to know. 420 learn.
Yeah, I think the thing with cannabis is it was ultra hot, and I think the wholesale prices probably were a little higher than they needed to be, like 18 months or a year ago. And it's just going to be a matter of timing the sale. And Drew Rosner's talked about this, and he really does know the industry better than I do. But he's talking about selling into the wave. Y'all are laughing because of his behavior, but no, he sells a lot of cannabis related domains too.
Yeah.
And he has a business Ganjapreneur. So he knows the space better than I do. But he
What's
talks
that?
about selling
Sorry?
into the
Ganjapreneur. Oh, that's gold. Sorry.
And so he's talked about selling into the wave, and we had a pretty good offer on, and we passed on it, and then actually went back and they were no longer interested on Cannabis Company, and it was right, and without being too detailed, pretty smack dab in the middle of 5 figures, and we were wanting a little bit north of that, and we thought about it a while, and once we kind of got a little bit more of got the temperature of the room, we went back and they were no longer interested. But I recently actually put it on Brand Bucket, and it's listed at like 82. So that's a little more to our liking anyway. And so it's just, I don't think it's going to be a quick sell on a name like that. And one of the things is, and RF alluded to it, is until we get some clarity, some legislative clarity on a national basis, it's going to be hard to sell any of these cannabis names for really big numbers,
right?
Because you're dealing with state or whatever the parcel is in Canada, I guess, provinces, and so who can spend the kind of money on the most premium of these names,
exactly right,
without having the ability to take it national.
Yeah, valid points. I had a chat with someone else earlier about the name, and they say that they could see it probably placing for a $4,000 to $6,000 retail. Now, to me, would that be probably a long hold, like maybe a 5-year hold? Like, would that be a quick sale, do you think, or would it be a longer hold?
I mean, I think that's a type of sale that somebody that is big and local could afford. So it just depends. I mean, in a bigger city or a state that's pretty well established, a Colorado or a Las Vegas or a Nevada or California, where they have a history and they're starting to kind of get some business models. I mean, when I hear 420 therapy, I think that's just like, people talk about like ink therapy when they're getting tattoos, or therapy is kind of a slang term for something that takes your mind off stress. And so I hear 420 therapy, and that's what I think of. When I hear cannabis therapy, I think medical marijuana. That might be a bias because of which one I own, but that's kind of how I see it. But so I think a 420 therapy, I don't think you're waiting on a national for that one. I think if it's in the mid 4-figure range, somebody big in a local market would probably pick it up.
Yeah, that's the thing it comes down to is your sell-through rate, right? I mean, if you're gonna go big, then your sell-through rate's gonna be a lot lower. If you're gonna price it so that like some little cannabis like pop-up stand, well, not pop-up stand, but these little outlets that there's hundreds of in legalized states. Well, then if you price it at $2,000 or $2,500, again, that friendly credit card number, your sell-through rate will be significantly higher than selling it to trying to price it to national brand at like 10K or high 4 figures. So sell-through rate, you're saying 5 years, it's still a 20% sell-through rate, which is extremely high. But in a good niche, and if you don't price it too high, it's not that impossible. But it's when you're talking sell-through rates of 20%, that's very high. So
that's mad.
Yeah. So you would say in 5 years, but if you don't outbound, if you outbound, maybe it's a little bit different. But outbounding that kind of name to like mom and pop places, it's possible. It's just a lot of work. But you have a good work ethic, so maybe you could try that one. I don't know.
Well, it's gone now. Anyway, let's hand the topic. Back to.
But actually, it's funny because you, when I asked people for topics and what to discuss, you actually submitted what's a good type of name to outbound. So maybe that's we could segue into that. And I don't know too many people who outbound here. Anybody here outbound at all?
maybe we'll wait for a week.
I was going to ask if anyone had any cannabis or 420 or marijuana sales they wanted to report or talk about.
I will let you know later on today. I coincidentally have an MMJ domain in the auction. So yeah, maybe later on.
You're talking about domains, Keith. I thought you were talking about product. I'm sorry.
Well, if no one else has, I've had a couple of marijuana sales.
Yeah, go for it.
A few years ago.
How many?
A couple. One was upcannabis.com, which I sold to a large cannabis company in Canada just after or around the time cannabis was being legalized there. That was a $4,400 sale. Actually, an interesting story about that one, if folks want to hear about it.
Yep.
I think I had it priced for $29.95 on Afternic, and the potential buyer, instead of clicking the bin, contacted me, and I had priced it a long time ago. And when I reevaluated the domain, I realized it was underpriced. And so since he had contacted me and wanted to negotiate, I increased the price.
Nice.
Not in a mean way. I didn't mean to be mean or anything, but I just really felt a strong
It brought it to
conviction
your attention.
that the domain was underpriced. So I increased it to $43.95. And then we continued the negotiations, and it went on for about a week, and he was contacting me quite frequently, a couple times a day. And I did some research on the guy. He emailed me from his real address, doing it took me a couple hours of like internet research, web research, and I was able to track him down that his small company had merged with 2 or 3 other companies to form a larger conglomerate and to hopefully take over or create a nationwide marijuana company that was going to dominate the industry. I guess that was probably their aspiration, I'm sure. So that also made me feel as confident about my price. And so the negotiation went on for several days, but I never budged. And I was about to offer him a 20% discount if he wanted to pay me through escrow and pay the fees instead of doing it through Afternic. But then right about that time, he just felt pressure, and he just clicked the bin in Afternic and paid more money than he would have if he had clicked it in the first place.
Nice.
So that's that story.
Yeah.
And then,
Keith, I love the story, Keith. Like I'm picturing all these different weed and provider groups morphing together. I pictured the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, all like assembling into the giant robot to come and get it. And I thought about it. I would call it the Mighty Munchin Power Rangers. There you go. There's my fun.
The domain is, I think they forwarded now to some other, let's see.
Up cannabis.
So here's an interesting question for you, Keith.
Yeah.
You sold that when? What sort of year? How long ago?
Now it forwards to upca.com. It's the same company, but yeah. But anyway, sorry, what was the question?
The question was, how long ago did you sell that, even roughly?
It was like 2 or 3 years ago, I think.
Okay, because that name to me now, that would be a much stronger, higher price point, would you not think?
Yeah,
like
probably
maybe.
I would price it probably double that amount now. Yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Nice name. I like it.
Yeah.
You had another one too, didn't you?
Yeah, the other one I sold is Bong Appetit.
Love it.
Which
How
is
cool.
one of the first names I acquired very early on in my domaining career in the auction.
That's gold.
I don't know what I paid for it, $50 or $100 or something.
Oh,
and
what?
It used to be the name of a cable TV show about, making food and, edibles, making edibles out of marijuana.
God.
And I'm kind of under a verbal non-disclosure, so I'm not going to mention the price.
Great name, though. Oh.
Did you sell it to Taco Bell?
No, I didn't sell it to Taco Bell. I sold it to an individual, and I wonder where that goes now.
Is it developed?
Last time I checked, he had it priced around $20K. Yeah, it's still for sale, it looks like.
Yeah, man, I want 40 tacos.
Yeah. Hey,
I've got a bong appetite.
Or
a little bit on the subject.
I don't know what it goes to now.
Curious, I'm not involved in brandable marketplaces yet. Maybe at some point I will. But do they allow cannabis names?
Where?
On like the brand buckets and Squad Health.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got Cannabis Company on Brand Bucket. So
It's more
Yeah,
so-
no, I'm just curious because I know in the States you have there's certain laws when it comes to cannabis, but I guess it doesn't apply to branding. But I mean, I was curious if they allowed it because look, all this last year, Afternic and all the other aftermarkets, they don't allow pandemic names, even if they could be advantageous to people. So I was just curious if there was some kind of like a policy where just they're didn't want to get involved in the controversy or anything like that.
no, I think the
I
reason
will say, go ahead.
I think the reason that they cited for backing out of that mid 5-figure deal on Cannabis Company was, and it was very vague, but they said trademark. And I think that the issue is you can't trademark in the space.
Yeah.
Now, so you could brand a trademark that was something different, like a clothing line, but you wouldn't have that trademark for the cannabis space because it's not legal on a national basis.
On the federal level. I don't know if on the states that legalize it, they probably do have that.
But
Like,
you can't trademark a natural product, can you?
Well, no,
Or
not
is that a patent?
product, but like, you can't trademark cannabis.
No,
you
but
can-
Cannabis
you can
Company-
trademark like Up Cannabis because Up Cannabis it's a brand, right? There's nothing distinctive about the combination of Up.
But there's someone else
cannabis.
called Cannabis Company. Is that?
Cannabis Company would probably be too generic, yeah, because company is just
Yeah.
I don't see that as being again. Those are all trademarks. It's always a gray zone, right?
Cannabiscompany.com.
But if they got big enough, they could trademark cannabiscompany.com.
True.
Yeah.
I will say one thing about the 420 names. I used to have 2 or 3 little numbered, endings, prefixes, and suffixes, and a lot of people just automatically go no numbers, no dashes. You know what I mean? Just automatically. And so sometimes you can see availability. Now, the same point, all it takes is one person to bid on it, and everyone else has at least 5 minutes notice, to come in and bid again. So it's hard to think that a great name will completely go unseen because as soon as one person sees it. But if you're ever wondering, sometimes whatever's available can't be valuable, and whatever's valuable isn't available. But I think if you're looking in a less search marketplace, you may have some 420 names slip through and be there where you might not expect, only because there may be some people that just automatically put no numbers. So maybe I bought some 360s and 411s and 365s over the years or something because, for better for worse, maybe not everybody was looking for that. So I think that's a little reason why there might be some 420. But again, once it goes unexpired, most popular bid, it's not going to sneak through. But
100%.
that's a little tidbit on numbered domains.
Nice. Thanks for that. What's 411? 411. What's that mean?
Information. So when in North America, if you dial 911, it's for emergency. And 411 is you'll get the operator or information or whatever.
Right.
And now they've built all kinds of other ones like 311 in Canada. You get the city phone number. You got all kinds of services there. And I think 611 or 811 it will be your cell provider. So my cell provider, I just dial 611. And it's like I'm calling their number. I'm trying to think what else it's like. I know.
Isn't 811 health here in Canada?
811 is health. Yeah, 811.
And 411 actually used to be called directory assistance. So that's.
Yeah. But the
420 could be for cannabis delivery.
Isn't that an area code already though?
Yeah. But
Uber Canna.
I think what is it in UK? Is it 119? The opposite? I know in some countries it's 119.
Man, I don't even know. I haven't lived here that long.
If you have an emergency, who do you call?
It's 999.
999.
999?
Yeah, no,
0811 999 911. It's crowd anybody? It's longer.
But here's the thing: if you dial, what is it in America?
911.
Yeah, 911, of course. If you dial 911 here, it reverts to 999.
Okay,
So,
yeah.
On cell phones or
the answer is slower
on
because
landlines too?
What's that?
On cell phones or on landlines too?
Not sure. Not sure.
Because it
actually.
sounds like a cell phone thing more likely, but anyways.
Try, put your phone on speaker and try it. See what we get. But yeah, no, but it's funny because what Paige said about people not searching for numerics is very, very true. But for myself, I wouldn't necessarily qualify or define 420 as a numeric, because it's I mean, it is numeric, but it's also, to me, it's also a keyword. You know, it has a meaning, it has a product, it has a meaning. So like for you to class that as a keyword, yeah, it's not as strong as cannabis.
Yeah.
But it's still a known term in the industry. It's probably, I would put 420 ahead of pot. Pot people don't like using in commercial sense. 420 is you know, borderline. Marijuana is probably more favorable in terms of language, but it's not everybody can spell that easily. 420, everybody knows how to spell 420, right? So
okay, well here's a question for the group. So we've got cannabis, marijuana, ganja. In what order, descending, would be the order in which you would try and buy in that niche?
I look, anybody else want to speak? I think canna and cannabis are the top two by far.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think it's cannabis, and then probably, I mean, it might be ganja, it might be.
Is it canna or cannabis?
It would have to be marijuana.
I believe that young ones are calling it greens these days.
They call it green. They call it trees. I mean, who knows? I mean, you're not going to be able to keep up with the slang, but I don't think the bigger businesses are going to be branding on the slang. But cannabis followed by canna, if it's shortened into a portmanteau or something like that, into a brandable, it works. After that, it gets a little murky. People that are really heavy in the space say that weed's a no-no, but I've sold weed names. So it's hard to say. I think it pretty much is flat after cannabis and canna. It just kind of depends. It's a little bit more targeted on what your end user market is.
There was another name that came up in the auctions tonight, and it was marijuanaguru.com. Marijuana Guru ended up selling for 222.
Yeah, I mean, I don't hate that buy. Marijuana is a little long for a domain, but
yeah,
you know, when you're dealing with situations where people are clicking on things or they're finding it other ways, it's not bad.
Nice.
Yeah, I agree. There's a problem with marijuana with the A and the U at the end. People get them reversed. It's it's UA, but sometimes people type it AU. So that's an issue. Yeah, it's got that silent J and everything. So whatever. Oddly pronounced J for the English language.
So I just looked up Maui Wowie under the trademarks, and I'm putting it in the chat. And it says, yeah, and it's actually trademarked for live hemp plants, hemp seeds, and grain live cannabis plants, and planted cannabis seeds to the extent of such plants and seeds are lawful under the 2018 Farm Bill, blah, blah, blah. So, so you can actually trademark.
Okay, interesting.
Well, yeah, because there's lots of uses for cannabis or hemp, or look, I've never consumed that, so I don't know the terms very well, but I know there's certain legal usages that if it falls outside the recreational high spectrum of usage, then yeah, there is legal usage. You can't, so I think in the States, like, I don't want to assume, but I'm pretty sure that if it's one of those legal usages, then you could probably protect it by trademark. So I don't know where the distinction is, though. I don't know where because obviously some companies, they deal in the product, but the product could be used both for recreational and for non-recreational. Yeah. And where does that fall? That maybe we'll get Zach to come in here next time again and ask him those questions, or maybe even that's like not even a trademark thing. That's more of a legal, cannabis specialty. We'll get Drew to come in.
Yeah.
But
what was the topic before? that we were going back to. Outbound geos.
Oh, geos. I don't know. Does anybody here do any outbound? I think we got to wait for Jason to be here. I don't know where Jason is these days.
Yeah, he's gone.
Yeah, he's been quiet
Yeah,
lately.
he's been gone for a while.
Yeah, he was off and on. Sometimes he'll pop on, but he had some long nights in here. He shared a lot of really great information.
Yeah.
But,
Yes, Arif. I do some outbound.
Oh, okay. So Adam, what was your question then?
Okay, so my question is, I've never done a verbal outbound before, like on the phone. In fact, no, I've sent one email. That's all I've ever done in terms of outbound. And my question is, I'm looking to go into outbounding, but I'm wanting to go into geo outbounding. So bostonroofer.com or something of that nature. And so obviously I'm not going to get that domain, but
never know.
You never know. Yeah,
you don't. You're right. No, it's true.
see that stuff slip through the cracks sometimes.
But my question is, what's the approach? What's the best way to get started in that sort of domain category? Is it better to target the mum and pop sort of stores in the smaller suburbs, if you like, with a low population, and try and sell, a geo domain via an outbound to maybe 10 or 20, a pool of 10 or 20 prospects, and sell them for maybe $299 and turn and burn like that? Or is it better to buy heavier names in a population dense area with maybe a million population, and go heavier on the buy, and then try and spend more time on the sell and sell for more? Like, what's the angle? Like, where do
I think it just depends on your personal philosophy. I don't know if you follow domaining Twitter. There's a guy named Yogi Solanki who does a lot of low end
he was on a call this week.
So his model seems like he likes to flip them for a couple $100, and you can certainly do that. For me, domaining isn't my primary income, so if I could sell a domain for $1,000, I could offload it for $200, but I feel like I'm just leaving money on the table. So that wouldn't be my strategy, but it depends on where you are in the process. What do you want to do? If you're saying, hey, I'm all in, I want to pay bills, I believe that you could probably sell a $200 domain every day, because it wouldn't be that difficult if somebody really understands the value.
Well, Yogi is actually the inspiration to this further conversation, because we had a really, really cool group chat with him on Tuesday. Nice. It was really insightful, and he's just amazing at what he was doing. And he said, maybe I might make $2,000 a month, but that's good money where I am.
Right.
And I'm in India. I'm like, man, that's good money where I am too.
And if it's a side hustle, I mean, that's great money for a side hustle.
Absolutely.
You have to get up and work 20 hours a week at Home Depot for 4 weeks to make that,
Yeah, 100%. So that's really, I guess what I'm getting at is, do I try and acquire heavier domains with a large or a reasonable target audience and spend longer time? Or do I just go in for these hard hits, get used to the market, get used to the outbounding, get used to rejection, and go for the 299 easy, 199 wins, just to gain traction?
Well, I'll ask you this. Are you trying to sell domains to pay your bills? Like, do you need the money? And I don't want to put you on the spot, but I mean,
no, 100%. Yeah, okay, absolutely.
If I needed to pay my bills today, I'd be flipping, buying for 20 and selling for 200 all day long.
Right now,
post 2 of them a day.
Adam, I'll give you some stats on geo names, on the sort of names that you're talking about. I'll give you some stats if you compare to Google clicks and stuff like that. Give me 2 seconds when I try to open this up. Hold on, let me see. I've got that many.
When you say stats, are these stats of ones you've sold, or
ones that we've kept and built? I don't really, to be honest with you, I don't sell them any longer because they're too valuable.
I'm not looking to build out though. Just know that I'm looking to buy and sell essentially.
Yeah, I've done a lot of way back in the old days, going back 16, 18 years ago. A lot of geos buying them, and then I basically discovered it was, you were getting rid of your long-term goal. If you know what I mean, if you were selling them for a couple of hundred or 1,200 or 1,500, and you can do that all day long. getting the right person who gets it. You might make 20 calls, and if you get that right person who goes, yeah, I want Glasgow Builders, I want Glasgow Joiners, or whatever else, you can sell those kind for any city, as long as it's got a good population. And I would say,
right,
it's got something over between 50,000 a population, you know, so you're better going for mid cities. I would say, like the population in my city is between 600,000 and 800,000 if you call it Greater Glasgow, right? So with that, you're going to get so many businesses that are interested in that name. Well, if you go for the smaller places that are in, like East Kilbride, Cumbernauld, with a population of 50,000, there might only be one or two people, only 2 or 3 joiners in there. Therefore, they're, you know, so you're better going for the bigger places with populations of 500,000 plus, and that way you'll sell them all day long.
Yeah, that's great advice. And the other thing I would say is it takes a long time. So, you know, would you rather make $800 profit or a $200?
Yeah, and that's exactly right. And that's kind of what I'm getting at here, because from what I understood with Yogi, he's turning a reasonable volume. I don't know exactly how many numbers. It's none of my business, but he's turning a good number of volume. But it's that quick $299. Head over to GoDaddy. Head over to Dan. Check out. Be done. Thanks so much. I'm exactly the same. I would much rather make 10, 20 calls a day, maybe 2 or 3 days a week, for maybe 3 or 4 domains that I'm selling, and check out and make $1,000 a week. You know, $250, $299, 100%. It's the same as what you see here on these domains I put up. People will say, "Oh, you could probably get $3,000 for it." That's not my model. It's not my model right now. Yes, it's.
But Adam, I'll encourage you. So I've had a lot of experience with this because I don't have the time or the patience to do outbound. But I've always offered to people on NamePros for like 10 years. You know, I'll give you the leads, I'll give you the name, you know, and I'll pay you 30%. And my problem is people sell 3 or 4, and then it's not exciting enough. And they stop, or they want to take their own money and go buy big names or something like that. And I would say, from getting to know you on these socials, very soon after you start, you won't be looking around and asking other people how to do this. You will have set the mark on knowing what worked for you and what you should do in the future. In other words, you know, you won't have to look to fill a business model that's being done by other people. You'll kind of develop, maybe in 3 weeks, you know, you could be as good as anyone in doing this and knowing, you know, what to do. So I think it's good to ask the questions up front, but my encouragement to you would be, you're going to soon become kind of the leader. If you can just remember what it was like to say, if I could sell 5 names a week at $3.99 and make $2,000 a week, that's enough.
Stay grounded,
and
be humble.
Keep doing it, because what I've seen is that when I've been doing that with people and I've paid them $500, $1,000, or $1,500 a week, you know, trying to work on better names or whatever, that somehow everyone wants to stop after 2 or 3 weeks, because it is hard, like Jason's talked about, to put yourself out there, to get the blowback, to get the, you know, whatever. But I think within a short period of time, you'll know what works, you'll know what doesn't, and you'll be setting the trail, you know, because there's just not a lot of people that have the patience to just do it and just make that much money. You know, it's almost like if you told a domain investor right now, you're going to buy a name for $50 and you're going to sell it for $300 in a month, and they'd be like, "That's not enough. I don't want to do that. I don't want that." You know what I mean? That's how crazy our business is. You know, our expectations are. So, but I'd encourage you to apply some of the systems that you've done to acquire names that you've shared with us to it, and just go do it, and you'll be doing it and making money. And you know, remember what it was like when you started to say, if I can do it and make this much money, that'll be enough. And just, that's my encouragement.
Yeah, that's really that's awesome. Thank you, Paige.
And
I think
your business. Oh, go ahead. Sorry, Andre.
Yeah, no, just to kind of further that point, I think like when Paige was saying that some people do it for 3 weeks and just give up. Like, I think Yogi's like, from what he's posted, like he closes his sales between 7 and 10 follow-ups, I think. So it's kind of like you're kind of running it through the Rolodex multiple times to kind of close and follow up. So it's like it's on a one and done thing. Like I've tried the one and dones and I've never had any success, but I've never gone all the way up to like,
No,
10
Andre, my
follow-ups.
comment wasn't that they'd try for 2 weeks and give up, is that they would be successful, but it wouldn't be enough.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's that they would be successful, but it wouldn't be enough for them to just want to only keep doing that. Not that they give up, but that it would work, but it wouldn't be enough. But I think your point is good about someone having a history of buyers they can go to. And maybe when you hear someone say, oh, I sold 5 geos this week, maybe drilling deeper, you'll find that he's got one customer who said, I'll buy any city of 100,000 with electricians. And he's just going back to the same guy, hypothetically.
So Paige, do you feel like your experience with the Name Pros, letting people do that, was that because they were begrudging you the 70% for owning the name, or was it just it didn't matter? It was just after a while they wanted to be in your shoes and owning the name, and then you'd given them enough money through their commissions to get them started.
Yeah, and it's hard for me to say to them, yeah, but I'm letting you pick from my names, and I'll be a willing seller at a wholesale dealer price. But they're like, well, no, I think there's names out there just like yours I can get for reg fee. And I can't tell them that maybe there's some attributes of quality they just won't be able to duplicate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And like you could say, oh, well, I sold Boston Roofing for $1,500 and Paige paid me $450, 30%. And then they're like, and I can go buy Fort Lauderdale roofers. You know what I mean? And it kind of seems like the same, but it's not, you know what I mean? And yeah.
But is that actual fact that, I mean, you heard that from the people and you know that they're doing that, or did they think they could go away and then they don't really want to crawl back and say, it didn't really work out so good for me. Maybe you could let me do that again?
No, they never come back. They just fade.
Well, they fade, but what I'm saying is, are they actually?
But then I see them.
Are they actually?
They are, yeah, because I see them trying to sell their names on wholesale for $40 at Name Pros.
Adam, one thing I would encourage
that we had for stuff that we done. Oh, sorry, Mike, on you go.
Adam, I do some outbounding, and I kind of go in phases and cycles, and I'll go real strong for a week and then back off for a couple weeks and just be working on other things. But I would encourage you to make sure that if you're approaching somebody, in my case, a lot of times I'm actually using previous domain ownership, to identify the prospects. And I try to never offer somebody something that's less than what they already have. I always want to improve what they have. So I'll go to the net holder, and I love that. It's like, well, you could have the .com for, X and such amount of money. I know you have the .net, but
that's a good.
You'll be a bother.
That's a no-brainer. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, just don't ever forget that, because I think that kind of ends up branding you as a spammer if you do anything like that.
But if you go after the owner of the .net with the .com, you're offering them value. That's not spamming them. That's a genuine, a genuine proposition of possible upgrade at a fair, reasonable price.
A lot of times I see people approaching me, and I have the .com for something. Hey, you have the .com. Maybe you're interested in _org.
No, that's obvious.
I just make sure you don't do anything along those lines.
Sorry, I thought you were saying I go after people with .net and upgrade them to the .com. Sorry, my bad. I've misunderstood.
But yeah, I mean, you always want to. Yeah, you always want to make sure that you have the better value.
Absolutely. Yeah, 100%. I don't want to be a spam artist, that's for sure.
Yeah. And to Mike's point, people can claim or blame, saying that you're a spammer, regardless, even if you're just trying to be helpful. So one thing that I actually do is I pick up the phone. Like, I don't mind calling people.
Yeah.
I know Yogi says he's never called. He's all email, but I'll send an email. If I don't hear back, I'll call. Hey, didn't know if you got my email. I'm actually reaching out to a couple other businesses in the area. Just wanted to make sure you got it in case you're interested. If you are, give me a call. Now, I probably would not follow up 7 times, and people will probably say I'm leaving money on the table, but I'm leery of sending somebody 7 emails if I don't have a relationship with them for that same reason. Yogi is also in India, so he may have different rules. I don't know what they are, like in terms of spam and stuff over there. So I would definitely be cautious of, how aggressive you are with outbound email.
I just have a question for you.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Andre, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a question for Anthony or anybody else who's done the outbound. Do you ever implement like a cooling off period after you acquire the domain? Because if you've caught it at a drop, I mean, like if it may have been outbounded every day for the last year or 2 years. So do you always kind of wait a while before you start doing outbound, or do you get out, or do you start the outbounds right away and hope for the best?
That's a great point.
For me, actually.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I actually do mine immediately after I acquired the domain name. And sometimes we sell the names almost immediately. Once the buyer is interested, $200, $300, we are done. And we let it go and look for another name and continue the process over and over, rinse and repeat it. That's what we do here.
I would rather wait 60 days so that it can be transferred to their registrar of choice before I even touch it.
So what happens is
Mike.
when we
That's a great
agree.
point. If you don't have it at GoDaddy, if you have it at GoDaddy, I think you can go from the get.
Yeah, I think GoDaddy's safe. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, then you can push it.
Yeah.
So what happens is when we agree at the price, we move it to Dan. Dan takes care of every other process, and everybody's fine.
But surely it still has a 60-day lock unless it's going to the same registrar as a push.
It does. But what Dan will do, and I have experience with this, they will help the person open an account at that registrar.
Got you. Yep. And it's also a much smaller commission, like 12%.
Yeah, 9%.
Down, right? Or
Yeah.
if you do an import, it's 9 or 7, I think. Yeah.
I think it's Epic as well. I think too. I
think Epic's actually lower.
Yeah, Epic's 9, I think also.
What it comes down to, I'm sorry.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. I just think because your case is interesting because you have the time, right? I mean, most of us domainers, when we come in, we don't outbound because domaining is a sideline for us, right?
Yeah.
That's why when I always talk, about numbers and about stats and about probability of sales, sell-through rates, all this stuff, it's in regards to outbound, to inbound, because the majority of domainers, domaining was a sideline at some point, and then when they get to the point where it's no longer a sideline, well, they already understand the numbers that make sense for them. So I don't really need to explain that to them. But you have an interesting model in that your sell-through rate is 100%, but you're not necessarily maximizing the prices, but you're maximizing your sell-through rate. So, and that's a unique sort of I wouldn't say it's a totally unique approach, but it's not conventional. So you just like right now, you have how many domains? You have like 5 domains, right? So you bought.
Yeah, but come on. Speaking of 420, I mean,
Adam, here's one for you just to give you some stats.
Yeah.
If the first thing a customer's going to ask you is what sort of traffic does it get? That's no matter what domain name you've got, they'll turn around and say what traffic do you get, and you may be able to supply them the stats if you've got it parked or whatever else with regards to it. Now, to give you an example, I'm looking at old stats here. So if you take Glasgow Accountants.co.uk that we have owned for 20 years, right, that gets an average of 10,781 visitors, right? It's easier for me to sell that because it's got over 10,000 visitors. Yep. If you then take that's 10,000 people looking at that, looking for accountancy services. If you take, let's say, Glasgow Bakers, 8,456. So it adds more value when you look at that. So then a good way of doing it is get into Google AdWords, seeing what the click rate is per click with regards to these sort of terms like financial services, accountancy, HMRC, and then you can work out that if you then get a percentage of the clicks, put a value on that name, because you might be underselling, selling it for $300 or $400 or whatever. You know, it's some of my highest clicks have been for what we call deprived areas in Scotland, where we've seen lawyers who do what we call legal aid. You know, they give free legal advice. It's
No
paid
win, no
for by the
fee.
state. And we've been getting paid £9 and £10 a click. Think about that. So within a month or 2 months, your name has already achieved what you're selling it for, and you've still got the name. You know, but in certain places, like I could never sell Glasgow Florist for 50,000, right? But if I owned New York Florist, I think you could easily get 30 to 50,000.
100%.
Easily. But I couldn't get 5,000 selling Glasgow Florist, which
It's interesting though. Like New York is a great domain. However, it's the floral industry doesn't necessarily. I mean, it is a lucrative industry, but would someone who owns a florist, unless they're into flora, be keen to buy a floral domain for 50,000? That's 2 words.
I got a question. A lot of these domains are lower value domains, or quote, I don't know. If you were to price a $2,000 domain for 300, would it sell without doing any outbound? Just lower the price and wait for it to sell. Rather than spend the time and the money doing outbound, just drop the price.
Well, that's what I would rather do. That's my method, 100%. But that's the whole premise of this conversation, and what you all realize over these weeks. I love this. I love talking to you all, and I love the pitching and so on. I love the brandables, what have you. I love sourcing domains. That's all well and good. But if you tell me I need to go to 100 calls a week and then still not sell a domain because I've got to then follow up with those people and find the gatekeeper and find the contacts and find the ads and find that freaks me out. I'm just like, you know what, if you gave me a list of people to ring, I will ring them and I will contact them and say, hey, I've got this domain for you. But the whole other stuff that's around, I would like to sell them for $299 each, but with all the extra work, it's just not worth it.
Here's what I see. If you got a domain that you can maximizing the price is $1,500 to $2,000 domain. So you go, all right, I'm going to drop the price at $299 and I'm just put it in all the marketplaces and wait for it to sell. Isn't that pretty much the same thing with less effort? You're underselling it any which way. Might as well just drop the price and let it sell itself. You're not going to make any money, but it'll sell itself.
I think for geodomains, if you don't market it, end users will not come for it.
Exactly.
Before you get end users for geodomains.
100%.
So you need to just let them know that the domain is available before they can buy them.
That's a good point.
That's what happens.
Well,
Because
I think it depends on
they focus more on their business, so they don't really fancy a domain name. So we bring it to them that, oh, this domain is available. Do you think it would help your business? And they say, oh, yes, I could really consider this domain if the price is good enough. And you sell $250, $500, and they are cool with it, and you let it go.
I think it depends on the business.
I think Josh's point, this is why not having the sales data from GoDaddy, we don't know the answer to Joshua's point. You know what I mean? Whether just price it at $299
and wait.
And every registrar in the world is your friend trying to get that name based upon big data and whatever, right, in front of a likely user in that area. And what we all just don't know is we don't know if it works. And the only way to know if it works is to do it, and then you'll know if it works and you can do it again. So that's why I think his point is it's probably either worked for you enough or you've heard it's worked. Is that about right, Joshua?
No, I'm just hearing everybody that outbounding is outbounding is you take a name and you got to drop the price in order to sell it quickly. A lot of these guys will take a name that if you maximize the price, you'll get somewhere $1,500 to $2,000. But you want to sell it quickly, so you drop the price to $399 and you make all the effort. But if you want to sell cheap,
so I have an example.
Why do you need to do all the effort? Just drop the price, put it all at $299, and let it wait its term. It'll eventually sell.
Well, Joshua, I see it as differently. If you outbound, you should be selling it higher.
Yeah,
right? That's kind of my philosophy. If I wanted 100%. To unload a domain, I would drop it, $200-$300, and I've done that. But I would never. I mean, this is just where I'm at. I because I'm part time, I could not spend all day outbounding a domain for $200.
But that's what I'm seeing on the outbounding. I agree, but I'm seeing the outbound prices. A lot of the quick sales are $200, $300, $400, $500, $600.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, again, it depends on people's
I
goals.
don't do outbound, but that's what I've been hearing on that's the prices they're getting. So if that's the price they're getting, just drop the price on Afternic, everything else, and let the registrar flow sell itself at that price.
I think that's what they're getting because that's what they're asking for.
Fair enough.
Depend on the size of the market of the domain, right? I mean, if you're doing just a geo in a geo area of 20,000 people, then there's only so many people there, and the buyer pool is not high, so you're not going to be able to command a good price on that when you're outbounding. But if you have a national or international level domain, that changes things completely, right? So you can approach them, and the person you're approaching doesn't know if there's 10 or 20 other potential buyers.
Yeah, but most of the names that I've been seeing for outbound are not the best quality names. What I've heard is some of the lower tier names. I don't mean to diss them, but they're not the top names.
Yeah, that's why.
So in order to sell them at the top, if you're going to spend the effort. Somebody said, spend the effort to sell $200 name versus a $20,000 name. If it's maybe $20,000 name, no.
Yeah.
If it's $5,000 name, similar effort, you might as well go for the high tier. In order to drop prices and sell quickly, then just put them on Afternic, let them sell.
I don't.
It's an open-ended question.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think the sell-through rate would be anywhere near. Like it's two different things. Both could be viable. Both could be viable, but the sell-through rate putting on Afternic versus outbound are not.
Disregard the absolute price, though. Disregard the absolute price, and I hear Anthony saying, well, that if he's outbounding, he's going to raise the price. I guess I'm kind of the opposite. I'm going to have a set buy it now price, and when I do outbounding, I'll say, I'd like to sell this domain. Would you be interested? Maybe even give them a price right away, or have them come back. But say, I have this for sale. I'm willing to wait several years, but you seem like a good prospect for this. Maybe you would be interested in it, and just plant the seed, if nothing else. Because there's been times when I've been back and forth with somebody on the phone, and then I don't hear from them. They end up buy it now through GoDaddy or Afternic. So it's oftentimes I think it's just planting the seed. And so Adam, if you don't want to go over and over and over and do the 5, 6, 7 calls, because I don't like to do that. I'll make a couple of contacts and then just let it set for a while, and they'll think about it, and sometimes they'll come back and they'll buy it.
You can also lease the name, Adam. You can also lease the name.
I've been doing a bit of research in that, Tommy, actually, and I love that concept because number one, you build a relationship. You don't have the sticker shop. You have recurring income. The only cost involved is the acquisition and the annual renewal costs. So I love that model, 100%. I've been watching a guy called Willie Crawford who does 6 figures a month, and he has a team. He pays about $30,000 a month, and he outsources all of the administration, the checking of the monies, etc. I love that model. Phenomenal. Now, where to acquire, number one, the pool of names for that particular model, what names, and a strategy. Because, there's no point me buying, do I buy, for example, state names? So I might screw this up, forgive me, but Minneapolis or Mississippi, one of those is a state, one of those is the
answer to that is really dependent on the business.
It's just
on the scope of the business. Like there's some businesses that will do the whole state, in which case the state makes sense. But other ones, like a florist, sometimes they'll do the states, but most of the time it's more florists will be more municipal. Florist delivery, they have a delivery truck that comes out and goes. So it depends on the size of the state too. Like Rhode Island,
You've got town, city,
Rhode Island,
state,
right? It's like a tiny
national.
state, but
I can tell you multiples that are leased the name.
On the business. Yeah.
Sorry, Arif.
Yeah, go ahead.
I can say that builders, joiners, plumbers are a total waste of time. These are people
absolutely.
That do not get domains.
100%.
More time trying to get payments from them than anything else. You're actually better going for lawyers, solicitors, doctors, architects, those kind of
office buildings, essentially office structure.
Coach tours, names like Coach Tours and Tours straight away have got an income for that client. They can see it. So if you went, let's say, New York Tours or New York Coach Tours or bus tours, that person that you're planning to segment, he can see the value in that name, because if he gets one booking, it's paid for the whole year. And that's the way you've got to look at it, and that's the way you've got to sell it. You've got to sell it with regards to it. You know, it's to let them see the value of it. And you know, that's the way, you know, look, put it yourself in the person who runs that business, and what's he looking for? He's looking for leads. If he wants that name, he's hoping for it's going to bring in leads. So he's going to do, so you do the searches, what's high on the searches. You go to Google keywords, do the searches, and if there's 10,000 people looking for that, you know, let's say Detroit coach tours, you then take a copy of that and turn it in and say, I own Detroit coach tours. It gets an average 10,000 thingies. We own it. I'll lease you out for a couple of $100 a month.
Yeah. See, that's Arif, I've just seen your message, by the way, as well, so I acknowledge that. Just to wrap this up, Tommy.
No, it's all good. Scott, finish the.
My sort of misunderstanding, if you like, is I'm not going to be able to go and buy names for the sort of price that I want to make a profit with, or able to make a profit with, on names that have 10,000 a month search volume. Like I can't go pick those up for $50, $20. You know, you just, so I'm essentially selling them a domain in a slightly augmented segment of their industry, if you like, or a smaller town, or coming out of the city going into the towns. They're not going to have that volume, so that's not going to be one of my pitches. It's more so the ego of putting this on your business card versus Mary Ashley Design Company. She could have MinneapolisDesign.com or something like this. So that I do understand what you're saying, but I just don't know that would relate to the sort of domains I'd be selling to those people. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So sometimes people will buy a domain because it's going to get them free advertising after they pay for the domain. It's like it may cost them $1,000 for several months of advertising, but you know, when they buy the domain, but after that it's
and
like
it'll run organic.
Free hits from, because I'm doing an experiment right now. Just last night I bought Italian food NYC, New York City.com. So
nice.
And it's $4 a click. To the pay-per-click is $4. It only gets 170 searches per month, but if you figure that over the long haul, you know, I mean, I think I'm feeling pressure from Jason because I was in on so many of his sessions, and he made us commit. He made us commit to just trying outbound. And so when I saw that last night under the expired bargain basement or something, I don't know, but I was like, okay, well, I will try an experiment, because how many Italian restaurants are there in New York City?
Yeah, absolutely. Good job. Good on you. Arif, I think you wanted to move on now, didn't you?
Yeah. Deborah, you had your hand up. Was it for something on that? Was it that or something else?
It was that.
Okay.
I just didn't know if I was going to be able to like edge myself in.
Yeah. Don't feel shy. Jump in.
Edge yourself in.
And that's one thing I want for socials is that if somebody's trying to edge their way into the conversation, those who have been more engaged in the conversation, I ask that they let the others come in, but the others have to come in. So Deborah, that's great. Don't hesitate to jump in and then share your voice. That's totally cool. And what
but I was trained not to interrupt.
Yeah, no, here you're allowed. Here you're allowed. Especially when the topics lingered on. Yeah, and also on what you said, Deborah. I know one of the NGTLD, one of the monster sales, they actually deliberately paid a little bit more. What was it? There was I think it was vacation rentals or vacation something. One of them sold for $500,000, and then the next one, I think one of them deliberately paid an extra few $1,000s just to be the number one, to get that reputation of being the most expensive domain. Can't remember which one it was now. Vacation rentals or I don't know, one of those ones. Yeah, it was one of those ones. I don't know if vacation rentals was the first one or the second one, but it's something like that. But anyhow, I have one quick topic I wanted to talk about before the auctions, and I'm really going to try to get through this without swearing. But it's about GoDaddy, and it's really tough. It's gonna be really tough because you know, as you know, I put, you know, to get some action here, I put domains up for auction here every week. And a few weeks ago, I think it's probably 3 weeks ago, I sold a domain to another domainer, and through both just the GoDaddy and the GoDaddy push has just been a royal nightmare, like a disaster. Like, I mean, it's just, it's such a failure of communication. They're automated. I've always said it, that GoDaddy's automated emails are a disaster. They need to be audited top to bottom because they're not clear. The step-by-step processes are not there. And I'm trying to push a domain from my GoDaddy account to another domainer's GoDaddy account, and it fails every time. And it's like, so we do, as I take the domain, I push it with the Whois change so that it would be automatic when they receive it, that person receive it, and I don't enforce the 60-day lock because, you know, I'm selling a domain. It's all people I know here or people I know who I know. So I trust them, and it's like, you know, I want them to be able to sell the domain right away instead of wait 60 days. So, but on that, then we tried twice, it didn't work. The emails back and forth, oh, click this, click that. And then I got to my rep, I just sent an email, I copy pasted like the whole string of the 2 attempts. He's like, no, you did it properly. The other person missed one of the 2 emails he was supposed to click on. And it's like, it's because they confused the 2 processes together of the Whois change and the push. And if it's not the right sequence, they kind of lose it. I've lost it now. So I just want to know, do you guys have any experience of or issues with that? Or am I the only person that just doesn't get it?
One thing that I've had happen is I've actually had the email from GoDaddy get blocked by my email server because it thought it was phishing, and I had to go into like the message quarantine in the server administration to get it.
Yeah, it's just, it's GoDaddy. You how many billions of dollars? They should make it like a checklist or whatever it is. I know Sufyan, I don't know if he's listening or not, but I know at Epic they have like they show some of the things that have been completed and what might not be an issue, and it's like how hard is that? It can't be that hard. I'm just saying, GoDaddy, get your act together. I don't know. If anybody else has anything to say,
I always registrar transfer names. I just, it's worth the reg fee unless it's like a super premium name and it's a premium cost to transfer.
Yeah,
I always registrar transfer them.
Oh, yeah.
It just nips all that in the butt.
Yeah, it's so silly because it should be so easy, and it's like it's not, and it's like, and it's happened many times before to me, and it's just all they need to do is just do a checklist of what's done, what needs to be done. You could resend this email because it does resend, but it resends the wrong one, and it's like, I don't know. I'm starting to lose my voice. That's all. Anyway.
Which are your favorite registers, Arif and Jothan, when you transfer?
I don't really transfer. Like my personal collection, I have at GoDaddy and Epic, and it changes over time. I don't like to have too many registrars, but I mean, it's not that I don't like any other registrars, but it's just GoDaddy. I have no choice because I buy stuff at closeout, right? So my business model is based on buying closeouts for the most part at expired auctions. So I could not do business, unfortunately, without GoDaddy. And you know, there's a lot of good things about GoDaddy. Like, look, they have half the domains go through their expiration stream, which, yeah, it's not great for competition and pricing because now they're talking about maybe upping the price of closeouts. So that's really bad for my business.
What?
But yeah.
By
And,
what? Like how much?
Unknown could be, if they do it, I have a feeling it's gonna be a significant amount because there's issues with the closeouts. That too is buggy, their closeout, because sometimes 2 people can cash out the same domain. And yeah, GoDaddy.
You just think the amount of money and the amount of business, and just you'd think it'll be slick.
But what's even worse is that when you report the issue, it gets shuffled up. Oh, we sent it to the right department. You never hear from it again, and it never comes back down.
They're after sports.
I could tell you for a fact the GoDaddy platform is not secure. I will not say details because I won't talk details about something that's a problem. But the GoDaddy platform has not been secure for about at least 4 or 5, longer than I've been domaining. And I reported it before I was a domainer in '96. And the issue is still there. And there are other issues too. It's just, I mean, look, GoDaddy, everyone thinks they're evil. I don't think they're evil. I think they're good people. I just think they're in such a huge ship that nobody can really steer it. And the left hand is too far away from the right hand, and all the departments, like one department will fix one thing, but it'll affect something in a different department without them knowing. And it's just, anyways, sorry, but yeah.
Hey, Jonathan, did you say that you always transfer when you buy a name? Do you transfer before you make the purchase, or after?
Yeah, so that's a tough one, right? I try to get the auth code and unlock from the seller and their commitment to helping with the registrant change. But some registrars allow you, if you administratively control the domain, to flag that you are the current registrant and bypass the 60-day lock. It just helps get past the problems with it. So
do you take control at the existing registrar before you transfer it, or you transfer it as part of the transaction?
It varies, right? I mean, I buy names across a number of registrars or end up with them there, and every system behaves differently with respect to how they deal with the 60-day registrant change and those locks that they place on names. Once I'm able to get those domains to a registrar that I know handles this well, I then update that information at that registrar. But there is an email notification that goes to the seller. So there is an opportunity for them to do something weaselly. I just have had good luck with that.
So my practice is I take control of it as soon as I can at the existing registrar.
Mm-hmm.
It takes longer, obviously, to push it over, right? Mm-hmm. And that delay, which is days, opens up an opportunity for you to lose that name to somebody that outbids you. And that's happened to me. I've lost names more than once because I want to transfer it over to my registrar. So I don't do that now. Now I take control at the existing registrar. I have an account everywhere. I mean, every once in a while, there'll be some tiny little registrar. We'll just open the account, and we can do that quickly and take control over it. So once you have a deal, close the deal as soon as you can.
But a suggestion, there's so many of us here together, and we are dealing with this GoDaddy on a daily basis. Maybe we just comprise a list of all the errors we found, and we just shoot it out to Alan. Maybe he can put it through the right door so that change gets really done. It's for their own good, isn't it?
Look, I've reported stuff many times.
And to Alan directly too?
Alan who?
Schifflert.
Oh.
He's the director for the aftermarket.
Is he here?
No.
Not today.
I was like, I'm really glad I didn't swear now. Okay, I think something was here. Okay.
And cue Alan.
But
I suspect
maybe we'll get somebody. I don't want to. Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, if I was going to say, I suspect he'll listen to the recording. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've found bugs in their auction platform before they revamped it recently, and they didn't get changed until they did the global revamp. Bugs that caused one of my bids on domain A to be acted upon domain Z. So I bid on a domain. The result was that the bid was processed on a different domain. I was able to explain it, repeat it, and the response was, you have to pay. It was 2 domains. You have to pay for the domains, or you'll be removed from the auctions. Not a thank you. Oh, we'll fix it. Or not a thank you. Give us more details. It was, no, you have to pay for the domains, or you'll be removed from the auctions. Now, in all fairness, it was like more of an automated one. My poor rep, for a while I was reporting everything. About 2 or 3 years ago, I was reporting everything, and it got to the point where I started my emails with an apology to my rep because I was finding so many bugs.
How I mean that where's the logic in that? Like I go, oh sorry, you know, I know I feel really bad because it's like, you know, it's taking away from your time from everything else, and it's, you know, like I'm the guy who finds everything, but I don't understand how everybody else didn't find all this. But in fairness, there are bugs sometimes at GoDaddy that are to your advantage. Like for a while, I can say it now because it's already, they closed it up, but there was a while when you could apply back orders in between the end of the auction and the start of the closeouts, and you could snipe the closeouts without actually going to closeout. It would cost you actually even a couple of dollars less if you had a coupon.
Was you?
Huh?
That was you?
No, I was everybody. Everybody who knew what they were doing. And they closed that when they revamped the thing about 2 years ago. And there was also another bug. Well, now you can renew your domain until whenever because of COVID. But there was another bug where I could renew without penalty until day 42. If you had to add it to the cart, add something else to the cart, then remove something else, or something that effect. I forget the combination, but it was like there was bugs that like saved me money too. So it's like, yeah, you know, yeah, it's just one of those things. But anyhow, I don't want to dwell too much on GoDaddy. And we are running a little bit late for the auction. So anybody else have anything to say on that before I switch
But
it
still,
over?
there should be somebody who must be interested in correcting those. I can't believe that they are so negligent and do not care at all.
It's not that. It's just that I think anybody you talk to just doesn't know where to. It's overwhelming because if you go to one department and it's something that involves multiple departments, it gets shuffled around from one to the next to the next to the next. Look, and it's not unique to GoDaddy. It's like, not to pick on GoDaddy. Mm-hmm. Any large corporation operates the same way, and yeah, they should have systems in place to minimize it. Like, I mean, you know, as you guys know, I work in a casino, or I used to work in a casino before COVID, and customer service for us is paramount because people walk in with money and they leave without money and they have no product. It's not like they're going shopping. It's like their entire reason for being there is an experience, right? So for us, customer service was top notch, and the way the mentality was, well, it's not mentality, the way things were structured was that anytime a customer had any issue, what would happen is that issue would be documented. It would go up to wherever it needed to go up. But in order to ensure that it went to the right place and everything was done properly, that issue needed to come back down and go to the client. Now, you know, whether it was a resolution or not resolution, like in the end, it doesn't matter because, I mean, yes, it does matter for the customer, which is one thing, but for the actual process and the problem, that forcing the issue to go up and be addressed by somebody, and either to respond or say there is no solution to this or something, at least it forced an action or somebody to look at it and a way to improve it or not. And it's just GoDaddy doesn't have that, you know, and that's one thing they could really use. But anyhow, so enough of GoDaddy.
See, I have to be careful there. I mean, I was asked what my favorite registrar is. I own a registrar and operate one, so I don't want to comment on, you know, anybody's systems.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, I mean, I'm sure it's not just GoDaddy, because I use GoDaddy a lot because, you know, I go with closeouts, right? So I have no choice but to use them. So, I mean, it could be these problems I mentioned, they could be almost anywhere, you know, and a lot of it is just, it's the size of the company too. You know, once you get a certain size, multiple departments, and blah, 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 I'm rambling. So auction time, right? Anybody want to go to the auctions? Here we go.
Yeah. And RF, I talked about this last week, just from an operational thing. Mm-hmm. I've gone through, I've set up a Google Docs spreadsheet.
I saw.
Okay.
Can I share that?
Yeah, totally.
Okay, I'm just going to start with the quick rule. So I already did the process of how to send your domains. That information is now up at thedomainsocial.com. You can check that out. And then I'll just get to the rules and we'll get started.